In this lecture, we're going to configure the rest of the buildings that we're going to use throughout this course. Let's go. In our project panel, we've got this buildings folder with a list of different buildings, but we haven't really configured anything except for the command post. This one has the cost, the icon, and all of this stuff, but a lot of our buildings are not quite set up properly. So let's start at the top with our airport. It's got a health of 100. Let's change it to 1300. Let's change the build time to something like 70. The airport icon is fine. The airport prefab we did already do, but we don't have a cost. In the costs folder, let's go ahead and go right click, create supply cost, call it 150 minerals, 100 gas, and give it that configuration. And hook up the mineral and gas SOs. Back on the airport, we can hook that up. Select the 150 minerals, 100 gas cost. And then let's take a look at our airport prefab. We can see we don't have anything set up here. If we just drag that into the world and compare it to our command post, we can see it's missing the building and the NavMesh obstacle. Let's come back to the airport and attach the base building script. And it should be disabled by default. We also don't have a decal projector. Let's align it to the ground. We'll copy that decal projector from the command post, center it over our airport, enable it, and maybe we want to make that a little bit bigger. Let's do 4.25 on the width and height and disable it again. Come back to the airport base building script and connect the decal projector. Connect the unit SO. Set the main render as the building 06. Set the primary material as Sci-Fi Tune. That's the currently active one. And remember, we want to change the default over here, the Sci-Fi Tune element 0 on the renderer to our building ghost placement. Then we just need a NavMesh obstacle. So let's add that. Add component. NavMesh obstacle. Looks like a size of 2.5, 0.25, 2.5 on the X, Y, Z respectively is perfect. And we'll tell it we want it to carve, and that looks pretty good. Remember, we want the carving of the NavMesh, that's this little white box, to roughly match the size of the building. Make sure to connect that on the base building, and let's leave the available commands for now. We also need to change the layer to buildings, and say no this object only, and then go ahead and click overrides, apply all. Then we can remove the building from the scene. And the challenge this lecture is to go ahead and configure the rest of the buildings as follows. The barracks, 150 minerals, 80 build time, and 1000 health. For the supply hut, 100 minerals, 40 build time, 500 health. And for the infantry school, 150 minerals, 80 build time, and 600 health. So pause the video, configure those. Don't forget the NavMesh obstacles and all the things we just did on the airport. And I'll see you back here once you've got them all configured. All right, welcome back. Let's go through it together now. We have a barracks already spawned, with the base building enabled, but it doesn't have the NavMesh obstacle or any of the configuration set up. So let's use this one, just disable it. For the main renderer, let's hook up that building 05. On the building 05, change the material to the ghost placement. Make sure it's on the buildings layer. Yep, it is. Set the primary material as Sci-Fi Tune. Attach a NavMesh obstacle. Tell it to carve. Looks like 2x, 0.25y, and 2z works pretty well. Attach the obstacle. We've already got a decal projector that looks okay. Let's leave that disabled. Now let's check out the unit SO. Health, we said 1000. Build time, we said 80. Cost, we need to create one. Let's create one. Right click, create, supply cost. Call it 150 minerals. Give it 150 minerals, 0 gas, and hook up the mineral SO and the gas SO. Then we just hook up the cost, and the barracks is done. Let's apply all the overrides to the prefab and delete it. Next one, we have supply hut. We also have one of these already placed. Let's go ahead and disable that base building. Hook up our main renderer, building 01. Hook up our primary material, Sci-Fi Tune. Connect our NavMesh obstacle, select our building 01 and change that material to the building ghost placement. This one's already on the buildings layer. Then on our supply hut SO, we said 500 life, 40 build time, and then we need our cost, 100 minerals. This time we'll just copy paste the 150 minerals, call it 100 minerals, and just change the mineral to 100. Then on the supply hut, hook up that cost. Then in the scene view, select that supply hut, apply all those overrides, and delete it from the scene. The last one is that infantry school. Let's drag it into the scene, align it to the floor, and attach the base building. We also need a decal projector, so copy paste that from the command post. Align it to our infantry school and set the size to be maybe 2. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and connect the decal projector. Going down the list, connect the Unit SO infantry school, connect that main renderer, change the main renderer to use the building ghost placement material. Back on the main infantry school, change the primary material to sci-fi tune. We need the NavMesh obstacle, let's attach that. And it looks like 0.251 is going to be pretty good. Make sure to turn on carving, connect the NavMesh obstacle, and disable the base building script. Also make sure we move this over to the buildings layer. Let's go ahead and apply all those overrides and delete the object. Now in the infantry school SO, we said health 600, 80 build time, and a cost of 150 minerals, which we already have. Let's select that. Now all these buildings are set up, and that's all we were looking for in this challenge. In our assets units commands, we've got our build command post. Let's go ahead and copy that one, rename to build airport. Again, paste, build barracks. Again, build supply hut. And one more time, build infantry school. Again, let's go top down. The name of airport should just be airport. We need to change that icon. If we search for airport, we've got that airport icon. Let's give this one slot 4. We need to change the ghost prefab because we've got this command post ghost variant, which is a variant of our main building, just with all the stuff removed. So it's basically just the renderer. So it looks like we need to do that for each of these buildings. Let's drag the airport into the scene, remove the box glider base building NavMesh obstacle, change the layer to transparent FX and say yes, apply to children. And then we can drag that back into the project panel and call it a prefab variant. And we'll call it airport ghost variant. Let's go ahead and do that for all of the buildings before we finish up those commands. Let's remove that airport, select our barracks, do the same thing, remove the box collider base building NavMesh obstacle, move it to transparent FX, yes, change the children. If we rename the object before we drag it into the project panel to barracks ghost, it'll give us barracks ghost variant as the name, which is a little bit more convenient. We can then delete the barracks from the scene, come down to infantry school, remove all those components, move them over to the transparent FX layer, call it infantry school ghost, and drag it to the project panel as a variant. Then delete the prefab from the scene view. Last one, supply hut into the scene, remove all the stuff, move it over to the transparent FX layer, rename it to supply hut ghost, and drag it into our project panel as a prefab variant, then remove it from the scene. Phew, okay. Coming back to our assets units commands, now on build airport, we can select our airport ghost variant. But for the restrictions, we probably don't have as many restrictions. We can probably place the airport close to supplies. So let's remove that second one, but we probably do want the extents to still have to be on the NavMesh. Now remember, we did 1.5 here because our command post has a size 3. Our airport also looks like size 3, so that should also be fine. We're just going to have to validate that extent on each building to make sure it's going to line up properly. Coming back to the commands, the airport looks good, just need to change that building to the airport, and we're done. For the barracks, again, the name to barracks, the icon to the barracks. Let's give this one slot 2. Requires click to activate, is single unit command, both true. We want to use the barracks ghost variant. Remove the 6 units from supplies. Let's quickly check the size. Yep, barracks is also size of 3. That's perfect. And set the building to be the barracks. That's done. Now for the infantry school, change the name to infantry school. Pick that infantry school icon. Let's give that slot 3. Pick that ghost variant. Again, remove the distance from supplies restriction, but this one is smaller. If we pick this infantry school, we can see this is only 1.5, so we need a new restriction. In the building restrictions, let's select that 1.5 extents must be on NavMesh, copy paste that, and rename it to 0.75 extents must be on NavMesh. and change all those extents to 0.75, which is half of the size of our infantry school. Then we can select our commands again, build that infantry school, and just swap out that restriction. Change the building over to the infantry school. We've got one more, that supply hut. Change the display name to supply hut. Hook up that supply hut icon. Let's give it slot 1, supply hut ghost variant for a ghost prefab. Remove the 6 units from supplies restriction, and let's check the size because this one is also smaller. This one looks like 2. So we can go back to our building restrictions, copy paste the 1.5 extents must be on navmesh, rename it to 1 extents must be on navmesh, and just give the extents to be 1. Change the restriction on that build supply hut to be that one we just created, and change the building SO to that supply hut. What's really cool about these scriptable object configurations like this is now all we need to do to allow a worker to build all this stuff is come to our show buildings command, add a few commands here, and start changing them out. We've got build command post, we got build supply hut, we got build barracks, build infantry school, build airport. Looks like I added one too many. We'll remove the extra, and then come over here and click play. And now our workers can all build all of these things, and they're going to show up on the UI, and all of the work we've done for building is going to apply to every one of those buildings. So we can see all of these now show up in the proper slot. It's just that they all have some cost. So let's gather some supplies. We can go build a supply hut, a barracks, an infantry school. And once we get enough supplies, and the airport. There we go. In this lecture, we've gone through and set up all of these new buildings very, very quickly. And it's very easy to add new buildings very quickly. That's all we've got for this lecture. When you're ready to move on, I'll see you on the next one.